Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in and sit in the room. Today's July 1st, and I made a commitment to myself that I would actually get more well versed with YouTube. Oftentimes, I have client consultations that are very private, but there are some people who want to know some answers publicly. So I said, well, you know what? It's time to really open up this platform a little bit more than to be isolated, especially when this world is pretty much digital. And so I invite you to come along with me as I journey into this digital sacred space, but also I invite you to not only to view me, but to comment, share, like, and participate. If there's a question that you want answered and I can do so, by all means, I'll be happy to do so. Now, if there's something that I don't know, I'm more than well versed to say, well, you know what, I don't know. I'll get back with you later or refer you to someone else. Because in this particular facility, which I call my ministry of Aunt Mary's niece, um, you know, it's a learning community as well as it's something that I would just want to share. While I'm finding my voice, oftentimes especially when thinking about hoodoo, a lot of times people think things have to be perfect. For instance, before I came on this live, I wanted to have the background right and everything of that nature. But the truth of the matter is, when you're doing hoodoo, and basically what you're doing is rituals, different things of that nature. And I'll kind of explain it later. Um, you want things to be perfect, but when you're really doing the work, things are never perfect, and you have to allow for your own natural energy to come forth. For instance, one of the things that helped me to get started is being with my elders. Now, being with your elders, oftentimes they give you proverbs. Another way of looking at proverbs is stories about different places, people, and things. So, one of the things I hope to share with you are some of the proverbs that I learned that I learned along the way, such as honoring your elders and respecting your elders and your ancestors. You can't get through life successfully without honoring those who have came before you. No matter how hard you come, you can introduce new stuff all day long, but you must honor the past so you can move forward. One of the people who have helped me is one of my uncles. The thing that I loved about him, and I had to charge up my computer because it's about to die. Excuse me for one moment while I plug that in. And again, it's not going to be perfect because I'm getting started on this platform. I'm learning some new things as I'm bringing you some new messages and some old. One of my uncles, his name was Levi. One of the things that I loved about him was that he was paralyzed. He drank, but he taught me my word. He taught me my Bible, and he made me to get very conscious about learning it. And he couldn't really read or write. He had a very elementary background, I think third grade level, but he loved people and people loved him. Even when you mention his name in the community, they still have great respect for him. And he ran a bootleg house, believe it or not, right here off of Broad Street. And that was one of my favorite places to go as a child because I would meet people from all walks of life, good, bad, and different. But they were very good to me along the way, and they have helped me along the way. But the thing about my uncle, he said, one day you will write books, and I want you to write about me. But I'm going to do him one solid. I'm going to talk about him and give homage to him because without him, um, I wouldn't know as much as I know now. Yes, I attended church, but when I really got to the meats, the grits, the balls, and the things that really stick, I looked at his life and how faithful he was. Again, I mentioned that he was paralyzed, he drank, and he really didn't have, excuse me, that good of an education, but he enlightened me, he educated me, and he promoted the love of other people within the things that he did, such as, I often joke that he would tell me something, and then because he really couldn't read it for himself, And, oh, I forgot to mention that he even sang quartet in the community. So a lot of people know him around the Sumter, South Carolina community. But I tell you, my Uncle Levi, I wouldn't have traded anything in the world for the gifts and the knowledge that he gave me. He would say, go and look at this. And just like Pray Grow, it was in there. He may not could tell me what book a certain verse was in, but I promise you, every single time I looked into that verse, it was right there. Not only that, but he went to a holiness church. And at one point in time, I used to just go to that 11 o'clock service. But when he died, it was just something that prompted something in me to say, you know what, you can do better than this. Because if he was faithful about going, if he was faithful about knowing his word, and he had all these different things that was really against him, and you can do better. There's nothing wrong with your legs, praise the Lord. So you can go ahead and go. And then he would be on time. They say that, sometimes he had to roll around in the chair or call for a cab. I have never seen this man drive, so I'm not sure if he ever driven when I was a child, but he used to live in New York too. So, there was not a great need for transportation. But one thing too, he was a traveler. You know, this man, he would start off in something South Carolina, and each and every time he wanted to go to New York, he always had him ride. But that only comes from when you're good to people. All day long, people think that you can have overnight success, but what are you doing for others? That makes a difference. And that's one of the things that he taught me. He would always make sure, certain people had certain items of what they like to drink. In hoodoo, there comes a lot of drinking, believe it or not. Like for instance, libations. Libations is when before you partake in a drink, of any nature. You can do it with water, soda, or what have you, and you go outside and you pour some out to honor your ancestors who have preceded you in death. And so, I learned a lot about that too. And he had two types of Indian blood that was also inside of him. Now, to some self-righteous people, he may not have seemed like really righteous, but to me, he was a righteous man because he treated people well, you know. And one of the things that I enjoyed was having conversations with him while he was living. Even when I lived far off, we would still have our weekly sessions and talking and get to know him and the songs that he sang. Oh my goodness! Speaking of songs, I'm not getting ready to sing for you right now, I don't think, but my great grandmother Evelyn, when she was living, one of the things that she would do is make my brother and I sing this one song by the Williams Brother. I hated that song because we had to sing it each and every time. But sometimes, you know what? I think back on that of going in her presence and singing, and even just the words and what it really meant. You know, sometimes people want to be like Cheers, go where everybody know your name, but sometimes it's just better when people don't. They just do what you got to do and keep it moving. And so they taught me a lot about grace, when you have to do missionary work. Because that's pretty much what it is when you're looking at who do you doing missionary work. You're doing some of the things that other people sometimes don't want to do because it's not glitz and glamour. And sometimes people portray that it is, but it's getting your hands dirty, cleaning, and you have to clean a certain way, but knowing your scriptures and having your intention about certain things. One of the things too I loved about my uncle Levi was that he lived a very simple life, a very common life. That shuck and jive and chew fat. And to this day, I really enjoy shucking and jiving with people and chewing fat because that I saw that he had a love for people. Now, the person who taught me the most about loving others as you would love yourself, believe it or not, was my heathenist grandfather. And I love to say that he was a heathen. It's somewhat like an inside joke because he may not have the title of a minister, but he taught me a lot about loving people for who they are and not for what they have. Now, one of the greatest things that I think that the coronavirus has done for us as a people, you know how the Bible says that God bring down one and exalts another. Well, he brought down a lot of people, you know, and those things that we thought that was very important, we found out really wasn't. I think that was a good thing because everybody across the board was equally humbled. Everybody across the board had to learn self love and the love for community. But we also learned what we really needed and what we didn't. Now, in Aunt Mary's Needs Practice, one of the things that we are doing now is just looking at things that are needed and what's not needed. You know, everybody specializes in different things. And there's some things I specialize in, and there's some things that I know. But just because you know it don't mean you should do it. Believe it or not. You have to recognize self-control. And that's one of the things that one of my other uncles taught me, that right now I'm not going to name because I haven't gotten permission from his living children to do so, and out of respect for them. But one of the things that that particular uncle used to always say, which one should I hit first when he looking at my brother and I? And I appreciate that to this day, because when you're looking at certain things, you know, people sometimes ask you to do things, and if it's not in your repertoire, why do it? If it's not something that you're passionate about, why do it? And you have to think about that thing. Should I not? Because again, I stated to you, just because you can do something don't mean that you always should. And it taught me about moments in time, making sure that timing is perfect, but making sure that whatever it is, your intention is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Because you know, you can do right or wrong. And this series is not about right or wrong, because you have to have the good with the bad, the bitter with the sweet, you know. And there's a song about it somewhere that I used to listen to. But, you know, I have no judgment for anybody who wish to come to auntmarysneeds.com or come to this YouTube page. Right now, I'm just trying to find my voice on this platform so that we can have meaningful discussions like I do with my clients. You know, it's kind of different because you're talking into the atmosphere, and later on people will look at you, and then sometimes people will join you while you're right there, and that's perfectly okay too. But also, when you're doing this particular work in honoring your ancestors, you have to be how would I put it, specific, you know, because some people haven't always been good in everybody's family, and some people have been good, but you don't want to bring them back up. Sometimes, you know, you have to do what sometimes my daddy say, you got to let them sleeping dogs lie. Because when you don't, you can bring in more of what you don't want instead of what you do. Now, one of the things I like to do is deal with the root of the matter of everything. I said, one of the things that I love to do is dealing with the root of the matter of everything. Secondly, you heard me say that just because you can do something, don't mean that you should. Thirdly, you also heard me say, but it was hopefully the very first thing, is that you have to honor those who come before you introduce the new. Because no matter where you go, you got to get permission to do things. Not only permission to do things from people who governs over you, but from spirits too. And now, one of the things that people love to hear me say is that I don't touch things that don't touch me. And I'm the woman of the Willie Way. Now those might sound a little bit like, but just think about that for a minute. I don't touch things that don't touch me. But if it touch me, I'll touch it. hmm And I'm the woman of faith of the Willie Way. It sounds like Willie, but it's willing. You know, And I go in and explain a little bit further. One of the things too, I would like for each and every one of you all who will view me to do, if you like it, please press like. If you don't, send me an email and tell me how can I improve upon this session a little bit more, and I'll be willing. But again, now this is my voice, and I have the right to decide yes, no, and maybe so. And I promise you, I exercise that right to the fullest of my potential. So, hopefully, we'll chat a little bit later. Again, this is probably my second or third video of today, only because I'm trying to find my voice in this YouTube. But as you know, with time and wine, things get better along the way. So until we meet again, my friends, next time, just call my name, Aunt Mary's niece or Emma's daughter, and I'll be there. Bye-bye.